Kashmir, world's most beautiful place, often known as the paradise on earth. Famous forests, lush green environment, glaciers, freshwater lakes, snow, mountains and the mighty Himalayan range. But the entire place is sitting on a time bomb. The climate emergency time bomb. Experts time and again have advised and cautioned of disastrous results. But the question is, who is listening? There are many places as per experts in Kashmir which are considered as environmentally fragile places, especially places like this. We also have to take care of deforestation in Jammu and Kashmir, especially at places like these, the Bangas Valley, where deforestation has been taking place from last 3 decades and forests are receding at a larger pace. Hey guys, I'm your host Muzammil Maqbool for 101 North, and today we will discuss the part 2 of SDG 13 climate action. And on the panel today we have with us Dr. Raja Muzaffar Butt. He is an authority and a subject matter expert. He has always been vocal on tribal issues, RTI Act, Right to Information Act, environment, especially forests, aka Green Gold of Kashmir. Let's welcome him.
Dr. Raja Muzaffar Butt, thank you so much for being with me on Plain Talk. It's really an honor to have you on my show.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Saab, let's start with an important question related to climate change. After the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A back in 2019, around 125 projects involving diversion of forest land, let me repeat, involving diversion of forest land, were giving clearances by Forest Advisory Committee of India. Question number 1, how do you see this jeopardizing the entire ecological balance and how this will affect the climate change in Kashmir?
See, Muzammil, by transferring huge amount of forest land for industrial growth, it's approximately 24,000 canals, which means around 3,000 acres. For industrial growth, not only violates sustainable development goals, especially the goal 13, but also the national land use policy of India. Because there is a national land use policy, the government is planning to transfer huge amount of forest land for industrial growth, which totally is against environmental laws as well.
Absolutely.
By transferring such a huge chunk of land to set up pollution causing industries, industrial units, or see, there may be some industrial units which may not cause pollution, but we have to chop off forest, we have to trees. The government is pushing the residents of Jammu and Kashmir. It's kind of, I can say, towards pushing us to the dark ages, because on one hand we are saying that we are going to protect the forest, we are going to protect the environmental, environment. We are signing treaties, we are signatories to these treaties.
Absolutely.
So J&K, which Jammu and Kashmir, which especially Kashmir Valley, which imports rice and pulses from Punjab and other states, will be made further dependent on them, which will have a direct impact on our economy as well.
Absolutely.
So it's a very dangerous situation. So we need to actually set up research institutions for Ayurveda, medicine, kind of Unani medicine. We need to set up, kind of industries which are green. Absolutely. I remember PM Modi came to Jammu for his campaign in 2014 elections. During 2014 elections, he spoke high about Jammu Kashmir's mountain and herbal wealth, but that's yet to be explored. So these are the sectors where government needs to explore, and they need to come forward and start investment in these fields. But unfortunately, the forest land is being transferred through forest advisory committees, and this is, and especially at a time when there is no elected government in the in Jammu and Kashmir, now called Union Territory.
Absolutely.
So we need to take care of these things, and it's very dangerous situation, because the decision taken by government amending or repealing Jammu and Kashmir's land laws as well, because several land laws have been amended or they have been repealed. That also violates the national land use policy of India. The preamble of National Land Use Policy makes it clear that land is most important is the most important component of life support system. The operative part of the preamble under subheading, use of land must be judicious. The preamble says that preamble of the land use policy, it says that there is a need for optimal utilization of land resources. I will quote it. The country can no longer afford to neglect land, the most important natural resource, so as to ensure sustainability and avoid adverse land use conflicts. There is a need to cater land for industrialization and for development of essential infrastructure facilities and for urbanization, while at the same time, there is need to ensure high quality delivery of services of ecosystems that come from natural resource base and to cater to the needs of the farmers that enable food security, both of which are of vital significance for the whole nation. This is the preamble of our national land use policy. With regard to Kashmir Valley, with Jammu Kashmir Valley, it will take me only 1 minute. With regard to Kashmir Valley or Jammu Kashmir, the average land holding, agriculture land holding is very meager now. It's less than half acre. As per the census, agriculture census, it shows it's on the higher side, but technically it's only half acre, less than half acre. So in a place where you have half acre of agriculture land holding, how can you afford to transfer such a huge amount of agriculture or forest land for non-agriculture activities for industrial growth? So this is a very dangerous situation, Muzammil.
Absolutely, and this raises an important question. Keeping the preamble into consideration, you have time and again, Dr. Butt mentioned about the tribal people, the first people living in the forests, as important as the environment we have. Would you please explain how are these tribal people important, and how much importance there is when it comes to conservation of forest habitat, the entire habitat?
See, the role of tribal peoples in conservation of forest and environment, as it has been recognized by Government of India under the Forest Rights Act, which is called the law itself. The law itself has recognized their work, recognized their, the Forest Rights Act or FRA is being criticized by several environmentalists and environmental and wildlife activists. Many environmental and wildlife activists, they have been criticizing the Forest Rights Act. They think that the tribal people are going to encroach, they're encroaching on the forest lands, they are encroaching on this. But FRA, this law, which was not extended to Jammu and Kashmir previously before, Article 370 was abrogated on, this so very unfortunate that Jammu and Kashmir's elected governments could not enact a similar kind of legislation in Jammu and Kashmir. They could have enacted similar kind of legislation in Jammu and Kashmir because to recognize their contribution. So this law was finally extended to Jammu and Kashmir after abrogation of Article 370 on October 31st, 2019. So until November 2020, neither the center nor the Union Territory administration said a word about FRA. The law was extended to Jammu and Kashmir. So there's a great role of people from tribal communities or other traditional forest dwellers, we call them. It's not necessary that they should be tribals. They should belong to scheduled tribe category. But even there's a role of the people living in forest areas, demarcated forest areas, or villages surrounded in those forest areas called other traditional forest dwellers. So they have a great role to play in conservation and protection of these forests. Because as you might have seen, many people living in forest areas like Gujars or Bakarwals or shepherds, Kashmiri shepherd, Chopans, they hardly use plastic material and other kind of junk food and all that. So I don't think, because I have been traveling, I have been visiting, I have been trekking, I have been hiking in these places. So I see least amount of, plastic waste there in those areas. So I think they're better people than us. So they're better people. They eat locally available food material. They don't use plastic trash and other stuff. They don't use other junk food. So I think there is a great role for these people, and even under the Forest Rights Act, which has been now rolled out in Jammu and Kashmir, it is there's a great role of people, especially living near forest areas. They can conserve the forest. They can conserve the biodiversity by invoking Section 5 of Forest Rights Act 2006, because that empowers the Gram Sabha of the village,
Absolutely.
of the forest village, to protect wildlife, forest, and biodiversity of village, and ensuring that adjoining catchment areas, water resources, and other ecologically sensitive areas are adequately protected. And in fact, there was a problem in one of the forest villages near Sopore. There's a problem there. Lots of municipal solid waste used to be dumped there by municipal council Sopore. So I created awareness in that particular area, and four village panchayats, they held a joint Gram Sabha there, and they invoked the Section 5 of the Forest Rights Act to for conservation and protection of village biodiversity. So there's a great role under this Forest Rights Act also, and even the people living in these areas, they also can play a great role in protection and conservation of forest biodiversity.
I understand. And let's be very honest. How dangerous is deforestation, and how do you see private organizations, be it any government organization, working on climate emergency or playing an important role in reforestation of forest land, which is very minimum nowadays?
See, only a few days back, I was actually, there was a discussion going on about clean energy and about fossil fuels and all that kind of thing. One of my friends, who is he's an electric engineer, he told me that the power generation in Jammu and Kashmir, it's completely green because our power is generated from hydroelectric, from water resources, from rivers,
natural resources.
But yeah, this is absolutely true that that's a green energy. But to create such an infrastructure, you need to X down lots of forest trees, thousands of trees.
Absolutely. Basically, they violate the law.
We have set up huge powerhouses, hydroelectric power stations, whether in Jammu side, Ramban, Kotwa, Banihal. Then we have in not in Banihal, Chenab area, in Kishtwar, in Doda, especially in Kishtwar area, in Riyasi, in Udi Civil. We set up huge powerhouses there. We set up huge dams there. But to set up those dams and to set up huge power stations, we have X'd down lots of trees, hundreds and thousands of trees. We have blasted mountains. We have done a lot of tremendous damage has been caused to our forest, forest ecosystem. And in addition to that, thousands and thousands of trees have been axed during laying of huge transmission lines. Only in 2018 and 19, for laying of Sama Amargarh 440 kV double circuit transmission line by Sterlite Power Company, more than 60,000 trees were axed in Pir Panjal forest area only, from Poonch to Badgaon, across this Pir Panjal mountain range. More than 60,000 trees were axed. Then thousands of non-forest trees were axed down. Then for laying a transmission line from Ganderbal to Leh Ladakh, Kargil, thousands of trees were chopped off in Sonmarg area and Kangan area of Ganderbal. So huge disasters are happening, and we are constantly axing and giving permission, especially our Forest Advisory Committee. They're constantly giving permission for axing huge number of forest trees. This is very dangerous for a place like Kashmir, especially.
And how do we see private organizations, NGOs working on SDG 13 or climate action, environmental policies in Kashmir, working on reforestation of the entire forest land again?
I think from last 5 to 6 years, rather 10 years, from last 10 years, lots of afforestation programs are going on. There are, small NGOs or private bodies or people, business groups under the corporate social responsibility, or even otherwise also people are involved in. They have understood. They are undertaking lots of afforestation programs, especially in April, March time. So I think kind of awareness has been there, and a lot of awareness is there, and people are coming forward, undertaking afforestation programs, not only government organizations or forest department or associated departments, but even there are non-governmental organizations and even private bodies, and at local level also, at village level also, at mohalla level also, there are lots of afforestation programs are going on for last 10 years. That's quite appreciated.
Okay. My next question is related to COP26, which is going on in Glasgow, London right now these days. We have seen world leaders, activists, scientists joining on one single platform to work for the climate emergency. But we have also seen, videos which were doing rounds on the internet, wherein world's most powerful leader like Joe Biden was sleeping while the COP26, conference was going on. So what do we make of it? What do you as an activist make of it? How do you see, these leaders, working on SDG 13 on the ground in reality?
See, this conference is going on from October 31st. It will continue until tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow is the last day. 12th is the last day after tomorrow. As far as I don't think there is much seriousness about on this issue, especially reducing carbon emissions and all that kind of thing. In spite of the fact that the UN Secretary General said that we are digging our own graves.
Absolutely.
He said that we are digging our own graves by reducing the carbon emissions. So this is a very dangerous situation, and countries are in fact coming for a COP26 conference of parties. 26 meeting held. Actually, COP first meeting it was held in Germany, and from in 1995, and from last 25 years, this meeting is being hosted, and this year it was hosted by Germany, by UK in association with Italy at Glasgow. But still, there is non-seriousness on this issue, and in fact, I was reduce carbon emissions. Now India has. Because Prime Minister Narendra Modi was himself there, and he said that India will be net zero by 2070. So
that's actually a very, very long time.
50 years. So, so I think so. Commitments, countries need to make some good commitments, and in spite of the fact that India, Modi Saab said that India is committed to carbon neutrality for the first time in 2070. So Prime Minister Modi also called for developed nations to set up climate finance efforts and deliver $1 trillion, and that's a 1,000 times increase on current targets. So, but there is no seriousness, in spite of the fact that UN Chief Antonio Guterres sent a stark message to international community. We are digging our own grave, he said, referring to the addiction of fossil fuels.
True.
So in spite of that, it's going on. The use of fossil fuels, it's not coming down so much, especially with regard to China, even India also, and other countries.
In addition to this question, Dr. Bhatt and I have been following the COP26 from the day one. I have seen participants, activists, mainly student activists, from the other side of Kashmir in Pakistan, attending COP26. Why isn't any student, any organization or organizations, which are right now currently in Kashmir, training our own youth to represent Kashmir on climate action, SDG 13? Why aren't we doing much? Because this is our homeland.
There's an irony. That's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate that in spite of that, we people are living in such a place where we live in an environmentally, fragile zone in Himalayan, region. I could not see even articles published in our local newspapers or blogs, or videos should have been posted on social media on the issue, in spite of the fact that there are lots of people here who say that they're working on environmental issues, they're working on climate issues, in spite of the fact that Kashmir is facing a lot of challenge on this front. So this is actually I was thinking on this for last 7-8 days. I have been thinking on this, and I'm planning also to write a detailed article on this. But I could not see even an editorial there in our local newspaper, in English newspaper. And in spite of fact that youth and students from Pakistan, part of Kashmir, they were there. This is really unfortunate that we could not, our students could not go there. They could not represent our place. I think government is also not serious about this, and at government level also some programs should have been held. There should have been some state have been issued by environment and remote sensing, at least by pollution control board or those kind of organizations. I don't think they also know that some kind of conference is going on. I don't think they are much aware of this. And even our media and civil society and NGOs, they are also not sensitized much on this issue. So it makes clear that we are lagging behind on these issues, and this makes clear that we need to do a lot of work, and we need to come forward now, and we need to think seriously on these issues so that we can work on these issues here as well.
Absolutely, Dr. Bhatt. Before we say goodbye, top 5 points which should top the your list, or which you should share with governmental agencies working on environment. What are the top 5 things, top 5 points which you should share with every one of us, as well as governmental agencies, to work on climate emergency in Kashmir?
With regard to Kashmir, I can say important thing is that we need to seriously think on work on the municipal solid waste management. It's very important, because all the trash, plastic waste is getting dumped into our water bodies. It's getting dumped into rivers, nalas, streams, lakes. And Kashmir is a valley, and if it constantly gets choked, all these things, I think there will be a big tragedy, and it will be a disaster, and there will be floods. So we need to also integrate climate change measures into our policies, into our local policies, at national level also, at state level also. We need to have strategies and planning on these things. That's why I said that government didn't even held a seminar, a workshop.
Single seminar, absolutely.
So this is 2. We need to improve education awareness, raising in human and institutional capacity on climate mitigation. We need to create IEC activities, information, education, communication. And we need to implement commitment undertaken by developed countries, parties to the United Nations framework, or developing countries. What commitments we have made at international level, we need to work on them. It's not only that Prime Minister Modi is making some commitments, and at national level our country is making some commitments, but those commitments should be reflected at state level also. It should be reflected at district level also, what we are doing. So these are the things. I think we also need to promote mechanisms for raising capacity for effective climate change related planning and management in least developed countries. So that's for developed countries as well, for developing countries as well, and for least developed countries as well. We need to have mechanisms, and we need to work on them.
Absolutely, and we have to also work on the training of youth who can represent on SDG 13 and other SDGs as well. Dr. Raja Muzaffar Bhatt, thank you so much for being with us. It was really nice to have you on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That is all from today's episode. We'll be back with another one. Please do like, share, subscribe our YouTube channel 101 North Media. Thank you so much.